Welcome everyone to our first student forum on basic needs, hosted by the Student Senate for California Community Colleges. My name is Gerardo Chavez, president of the SSCCC. Next slide, please. Before we dig into our forum, we want you to know who we are. What is the SSCCC? So the SSCCC is the Student Senate for California Community Colleges, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we're student-led, staff-supported, and we represent over 2.1 million students in our California community college system. And it is through the SSCCC that students have a formal and effective opportunity to participate in the formation of state policies that may have a significant impact on students. Next slide, please. So we have three different focuses, and our structure really relies on the three bullet points that you see on here. The first one is system participatory governance, which we appoint students to over 25 participatory governance. They are external committees that we share with the Chancellor's Office and the Academic Senate. And it is through those groups that we're able to provide recommendation on policy decisions that will impact students. A lot of those groups surround the topics such as curriculum, diversity, equity, and inclusion, equitable placement. Those are just to name a few. Also, we have legislative and policy advocacy. So we act as a voice of our students at the Capitol, and it is through our partnership that we have that we're able to introduce, sponsor, and advocate legislative measures. And then lastly, we have regional support and development. This is where we're able to interact with our student body associations in our regions and our students. So we provide resources and training and support to our student body associations in our regions. And it is through those interactions that we're able to empower our students through policy development. So we're working on advocating for any bill. That is where we're able to engage with them in those conversations, but also understand what is it that is needed to be advocated for. And also we empower our students through other venues, such as this platform. We created this platform to be able to hear from our students. Next slide, please. So that leads onto our forum, and our forum will be moderated by Jen Galanado, a student at Sacramento City College, also our very own Vice President of Regional Affairs. So I'll be passing it on to Jen.
Thank you so much, President Chavez, and hello, everybody. Good to see you all here. My name is Jen Galanado, and as already stated by President Chavez, I'm the Vice President of Regional Affairs, and I'm so glad to see you all here. So let's talk a little bit about basic needs and how this is an ongoing problem within the CC system. So when you are ready, next slide, please. So the SSCCC is known for its multitude strides when it comes down to basic needs. Right now, currently, I serve as a part of the governor's task force when it comes down to basic needs, as I was appointed to that earlier on in this year. Actually, on the slide in front of you today, what we have put there is the definition of what basic needs is in the legislature under Senate Bill 13.2, and that states basic needs, services, and resources includes but are not limited to the following, as some of us already know what that is. That includes housing, food, clothing, feminine hygiene, diapers, technology, childcare, and mental health services and resources. The work within the governor's intersegmental task force, which is consisted of the three system groups, the CC system, the CSU, and UC systems, we are working on a multitude of guiding principles that will be released at the end of this year in the spring semester on what those are and how we as a whole can work on improving what students need for basic needs. And here I've actually listed what we're currently working on. So we're calling on our higher education leaders, like students like yourself, our policymakers, petitioners, and many advocates to help us in our work towards basic needs, as this is, again, such a crucial issue for community college students and throughout the entirety of the state of California, and something that we're seeing even more with the effects of the pandemic itself. So with that being said, talking a little bit more about basic needs on the next slide, which you'll see, when we talk about basic needs, next slide, please. When we talk about basic needs, it's a common thought that basic needs is only limited to food and housing. That's no longer the case anymore, because as CC students and many others, we see that there are other issues under the scope of basic needs, which are no longer traditionally just limited to food and housing. We're seeing it in technology, such as computers and internet. With the pandemic, we've seen that as students need internet accessibility or technology to effectively pass their classes, as well as school materials. Again, going with the scope of passing their classes, that includes textbooks, calculators, or even pencils and papers and Scantrons. I don't know if anybody still uses them, but I know that was something that I've definitely had to ask as a need for me to pass my classes. Then we also see aspects such as transportation. Not everybody has reliable transportation to get to their classes. If you're in that process of going online, I'm sorry, not online, but in person for your classes right now, as many of us are making that transition to in-person classes, that is one thing that we are seeing under basic needs, as well as personal and health products, which are not just limited to menstrual and personal hygiene, but those are just some things that we've seen in addition to other utilities, like under the scope of housing, like electricity and water. So with those in mind, we have people who are here, actually more so students, as well as a basic needs coordinator to tell us a little bit about their stories. So I'm excited and really proud to announce each and every one of our panelists who will actually go and introduce themselves after I introduce each and every one of them. First on deck, we have Mark Shepard, a student at American River College. Then we have Charlie Garcia Spiegel at City College of San Francisco, Sadia Escobar at Compton College, and Laura Salinas, a basic needs coordinator at Lake Tahoe Community College. So going first with our basic needs coordinator, Laura, please feel free to introduce yourself and then we'll go down the line from there.
Hey there, Laura Salinas. My pronouns are she, her, hers, ella. And I am the designated basic needs coordinator at LTCC. But I'm also, like, my title is Director of Equity and Student Wellness. So we all know that basic needs is an equity issue. So it definitely fell under my umbrella in my department. And I'm excited to know that, you know, this is supported through ongoing funds, as well as throughout my campus and the community. So thank you for having me here tonight.
Thank you so much, Laura. We will go to Sadia, if you're with us, to quickly introduce yourself to the people here today.
Yes, hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sadia Escobar, and as mentioned, I am a student at Compton College. Currently, this is my first meeting, so I'm a little bit nervous. About myself, I am a Spanish major, and this is my second year, and I will be graduating this semester. So I'm happy to be here, and I'd like to continue sharing my journey as far as the resources and everything that has been accessible to me, and that I feel that as students we can progress and you know, bring up to light and see how we can make this journey easier for every one of our upcoming new and upcoming students.
Thank you, Sadia. And then we have Charlie, if you're here with us to share your story.
Yeah, hi, my name is Charlie. I use he, him pronouns. As a quick visual description for accessibility purposes, I am a very, very light-skinned, white-passing Caribbean Latino. My background is a messy bedroom with some stuffed animals on my bed. I've got glasses, my hair is tied back, and I'm wearing a black t-shirt. And I'm like it says on the slide, I'm at City College of San Francisco. Currently, I'm a health education major, though they just introduced a social work major, which is what I'm going for, so I might switch. And I have been just like super involved in City College since I got here in 2019. Like I have worked at my college's peer resource center. I have been on some of the, you know, assorted committees at the college. And, you know, I have kind of seen both as someone who helps provide services and someone who needs services, you know, the impact of not having them during the pandemic.
Thank you so much, Charlie. And last but not least, Mark Shepard, are you with us? I believe we can have someone unmute you if you're unable to unmute at this time.
It's all good. I'm here. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm traveling. My name is Mark Shepard. I'm a student at American River College, as well as I'm the president of the Clubs and Events Board with the Associated Student Body. I've had the pleasure to be a part of the Basic Needs Task Force for quite some time now. And as a student who has asked for resources, I'm now able to advocate and let fellow students know what resources are available. It's life. You know, I'm gonna share a quick story with you. If it wasn't for my community college helping me by getting me a hotel voucher just so I can focus and study, I don't know what if I would have continued college. So with that being said, they were able to do that. And by them doing that, it released a sense of worry and stress. And now I'm out here helping other fellow students ask for help. It's okay. If we need it, ask for it. That's what we're here for as a community. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much to all of our panelists here. I've got a load of questions for you. So we're going to start with our first question, and that question being for our students particularly. How have basic needs resources that you have found on campus impacted your academic journey? I'm going to actually start with Mark because you already kind of touched a little bit on it with your journey. So Mark, the question is, how have current basic needs resources that you have found on campus impacted your academic journey?
Thank you, Jen. As I mentioned before, you know, if it wasn't for the resources that we're offering, I said I don't know if I would have continued my academic journey. Now that I'm the president of the Clubs and Events Board, my main focus is how can we let students know what resources are here. So that's been a very good passion of mine, and that's what I've been trying to do lately is help out fellow students. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll go to Charlie to take on that question next.
Absolutely. You know, I don't think that, you know, kind of like Mark, I don't think that I would be like here, you know, participating in this panel if it weren't for, you know, the basic needs resources that, you know, that I've been able to access over the course of, you know, just being at City College. I have made ample use of printing services. Like that's not one that people think about very much, but, you know, when professors are asking for things to be printed out, most people my age don't have a printer at home. So, you know, and especially having worked in the Queer Resource Center, you know, before the pandemic, I was one of the people helping other people print things, and people were printing out really important documents. Like I wasn't prying, but you just kind of see them as you help people with the printer. And, you know, people were printing out legal documents, people were printing out paperwork, people were printing out, you know, not just assignments. And so that's actually something that's really been on my mind this whole pandemic is, you know, how are people accessing printers? Because the libraries were also closed for so long. And, you know, even now, as we get back into classes, I'm taking an in-person ceramics class, and the professor wanted us to give a reflection paper and hand it in, you know, on paper in person. And my printer is on the fritz, so I wasn't able to do that. And so, you know, like that kind of thing really affects you, even if it seems like it's little. You know, like it's just it's just all the little things that people kind of assume that you have, like a working printer or space to do things from home. You know, we've been told that we kind of have to do a lot of our ceramics work from home, and I don't really have space for an at-home studio. You know, it's all these little things that people tend to assume that you have covered that, you know, I have not always had covered. So really, you know, being able to access those resources prior to the pandemic really got me into a place to be able, like Mark said, to be able to help others now. But even now, there's still things that are just not there for me or for, you know, any of my classmates, which is honestly kind of stressful.
Thank you so much, Charlie. And last but not least, we'll go to our last student on our panel, and that's Sadia with the same question. So Sadia, when you're ready, feel free to unmute.
Yes, thank you. Yes, as far as basic needs, well, me being that I was an adult learner, I came back to college at 31 years old and I'm a single parent. Knowing that these resources were available to me, prior to me registering to school, I thought like, wow, like I'm gonna take on, I'm gonna need to make sure that I look into the resources that are available to me so that I can make my journey a little bit less stressful, because I kind of felt like at one point money was going to be the issue, that maybe I wasn't going to qualify for any grants or any financial aid. And I remember because I used to look up at the guidelines that were up on the main pages of the colleges, where it would show you like a cutoff amount. And I was like, geez, I'm not even going to be able to afford that. But before that, I've made the right researching, and I came across, I knew that I wanted to be a full-time student. So I knew that if I took the units that I needed, I would automatically qualify for EOP, and of the resources that were given to me made my life so much easier, because I got the guidance with the counseling that was accessible to me. I got the book vouchers. I even got gas cards. I attended workshops where I could possibly get extra cash cards, gas cards, which was a plus, because this means that this gas, I can use it, even on my regular day, to make it to work and make it back to school, because I was still continuing on my journey. So obviously COVID happened a year and a half into my college years. And when this happened, I was basically unemployed, and that took a moment, for me to get that situated with EDD at the time, and I remember like I got a grant from the programs that are accessible to us as students, and it was extra money that I was like, wow, like it was just such a blessing. So for me to like know that those resources are out there, and that all it took was for me to search, and for me to be able to figure these things out, and then share them along with other students, like new students that come on, I always tell them like, hey, there's this program here, there's CARE, there's EOP, there's financial aid. Like I'm always one to advocate and share that, because like when my colleague shared, we once we're still in need of those resources, but because we already know how to get there, we want to share this. So I've been very fortunate to continue to voice this out, because I know that to some of us, we may think like, wow, like I can't afford college, or I don't have the time management, I have children. So I mean, this is certainly has made it a way into recovering, like coming along and knowing that, okay, like I know that if I need the help, it's gonna be there. If I keep on working as hard as I have on my grades, I get, there's always, it seems like there's always some type of incentive coming in for students, and that's why it's so important for me to like voice it out there, so that we continue on this platform and deliver it to, like I said, new and ongoing students.
Thank you, Sadia, and thank you to all of our student leaders. This is such a heart-holding kind of type of moment for all of you, and I hope that these are not just stories that you can all relate to, but also have the courage to share your own stories about how basic needs have impacted you. Now, we do have another panelist on the line as well, and that is our basic needs coordinator. So, Laura, I didn't forget about you. Your question is, in your observation, what has been the impact of the food pantry or EOPS on the lives of students? And also, how do you think this has helped general student populations? When you're ready.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say that I'm already taking notes and I'm learning from all of you. And I am just like so thankful that you are all willing to share your stories, because I know that it can be difficult. I will tell you that I feel incredibly blessed to be able to give back to a community and a college that has already helped me out so much. I was also, an emancipated minor, and the college at the time didn't know that I was considered homeless because I was couch surfing, and that's considered that. So it's been nice to be at a college where I have seen the developments and hopefully serve students similar to all of you that have shared your stories. And I think to what Charlie said, the printing, of course that is a need, but it's not something people think of. And I'm proud to say that we're the only space on our campus that offers printing without limits. And there has never been a moment where students have taken advantage of that or overly advantage of that. So it's definitely a need for students. And then also space to work. I recently just got a text message from a student in crisis saying how they are also doing a painting class and they have to do it from their car. So again, to what Charlie had said, and then Sadia about the sharing of resources, I am so thankful that I have a team of peer mentors and peer advocates that are willing to help spread the word, because the more impactful that you can be, my light is on a sensor. And so the more that you share information with your peers, the more that you're able to share the resources that are available on your campuses. So I just wanted to say that before I answered your question. And so to your question about the impacts of the food pantry or EOPS in the lives of students, I would say that the first impact is our ability to recognize the growing needs of students. I feel like I come from a background where I am familiar with all the resources available. I mean, there's still room to grow, but the resources that are available in the community, having come from a nonprofit where I started as a 16-year-old working at a drop-in center for homeless and runaway youth. And so I was already experiencing a different kind of experiences from my peers, but I was also there learning on how to help them. So I come from that approach of supporting students with that holistic mentality that we need to serve the overall students. But I think as a campus, it's been eye-opening in being able to recognize the growing needs of students, especially throughout the pandemic. That became even more clear. And then the second impact I would say is the opportunities for our campus to collaborate. And also for us to collaborate with our community partners. I think it's been a little bit difficult to build those collaborations and those partnerships, but it's all for the support of the students in creating our own task force and being able to have some cross-training and financial aid, because some of these questions that students have, we should be able to answer them right on the dime and not just shift them over to another department. So I think that has been an eye-opener for us as well. And then seeing and learning firsthand some of the crisis situations that students are experiencing. Like I said, getting that text from a student that's working from their car and being able to share with the student that there are supports, there are services available, and just getting them connected. I feel like one of the biggest needs besides housing and food insecurities for our community is transportation. Although we are a small community, we recently experienced some severe winter storms. And so some of our students are, the bus system is already backed up, so they're not very consistent in providing transportation. So students have to walk, and now we're able to help them with, snow gear where they're appropriately dressed for the conditions of our weather and our crazy winter storm, and being able to provide snowshoes and all that, so that they're not dripping wet walking into a classroom or dripping wet and trying to get to one place to another. But then another impact is that we have student leaders that are really stepping up and being able to provide, throughout the pandemic, we had student leaders being able to provide delivery services, our pop-up food pantry days. And I would just like to say that our food pantry started off as completely student-led. That there was a student that would go from department to department saying, we need a food pantry, we need a food pantry. And I said, okay, Mikey, I'll help you. We'll figure this out. And it actually was supported throughout our campus and with our leadership. And so we kicked it off in 2018. And since then it's just expanded because it's very obvious that there's a need. And then finally, our ability to stay solution focused. So when students feel like they are reaching a point of hopelessness, that we're able to connect them to resources where they feel more supported, where they feel heard, and they're able to concentrate on their academics and feel like they're empowered throughout their personal lives. So those are some of the impacts that we have felt here at Lake Tahoe Community College. Thanks, Jen.
No problem. Thank you so much. I'm in complete awe of all of you on our panel today. So, oh, oh, you have so much love in the chat for all of you right now. And now that you've heard each of our panelists' stories and how this has impacted them, we want to hear directly from you, as we do serve 2.1 million students across 160 colleges in 75 different districts across 10 different regions. So we're going to open up the floor to you in our open forum. And the first question that we have in our open forum for all of you, and feel free to unmute so we can hear your story. This question is, how has the pandemic and the shift towards an online environment affected you in regards to basic needs? The floor is open, y'all. So we do want to hear your stories so we can better serve you. I do see De La Shay on the line. Are you able to unmute, De La Shay?
Hi, everyone. My name is Della Shay. I'm the SGA president at SRJC Santa Rosa. And I am a returning student. I came back to school when I was 50 years old and hadn't been in school for 35 years. So transitioning from, just going in person was so new. And to transition from in-person to remote and having to learn Zoom, having to have computer and whatnot. I am also a DRD student. I am visually impaired and also a monitor. I had to get so many new things in my home and able for me to stay in school. And my school really stepped up with technology.
Did we lose you, De La Shay? I think you were cutting out a little bit on us. Well, De La Shay is having a few audio issues on the side. We'll come back to them. If there are any other students that are interested in sharing their stories, I did see a few hands go up, so I will actually go to Maddie, also from Santa Rosa Junior College.
Yeah, hi, I'm Maddie, and I am also from Santa Rosa Junior College, SGA. And I have a very similar, I know De La Shay. Hey, De La Shay, hope you're not too lost out there in the internet. So for me, I am also disabled, and I spent the last year of the first year of the pandemic taking care of my mother as she passed. And when I thought about going back to school years before that, it's been 15 years since I graduated high school, it was always really inaccessible for me. One, I'm gender non-conforming, and I've experienced violence in most campuses and in most places in my life, since a really early age. And, so I thought immediately back to, going to school in 2005 and 2006 and the trauma of that. And it took a lot of time to get kind of past that. But the pandemic kind of gives me, and Zoom in particular, has actually given me an opportunity. And that's why I'm back on campus, back in classes. That's why I'm able to be here. The elimination of transportation as a barrier and the elimination of public space, having to navigate public space as a gender non-conforming person, not having to locate all gender bathrooms when I'm on campus where they are ridiculously inaccessible. I mean, we have the most useful all gender and disabled restroom is on the 3rd floor of a building that is in one corner of our campus. It's really horrendous. So even though tech is like something I'm really uncomfortable with, obviously. Like I think we're all uncomfortable with it in this level. It's also something that's made school much more accessible to me. So I think that makes my experience a little bit unique, but I don't think super unique overall. I know that other like incarcerated students have been able to access community colleges this year because of that. You know, there's a lot of students who probably wouldn't be able to be engaging who are able to do so because of remote. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Maddie. As already put in the chat by President Chavez, if you are interested in participating in the forum with this first question, feel free to raise your hand or unmute at any given time. We are looking at in live time what's going on in the chat, so I can read a few things what's going on in the chat. Ooh, give me a quick second, everybody, to follow up. So someone does state that they've been trying to communicate with MTS to see if there's any way that they can provide students to have affordable transportation. It does take a while, but it's never too late to start. Someone also did share that students have been asking for Mooney, BART, transit cards for years, with that being such a huge need, especially when students of color, unhoused, disabled students, and etc. are so relentlessly targeted for harassment and over-policed by transit cops. It's nice to see that other colleges are also taking up this fight as well. So, are there any other takers that want to go on this question? I also see that every college should establish its own aid program for those in danger of being homeless, and it should stay active all year long. I'm not seeing anything else, but feel free to also answer this question after we get into our next question, if you feel want to answer our next question too as well. So on to the next question, if you don't mind, VP Campos. What are the current basic needs resources that you have found on campus impacting your academic journey? Again, feel free to put it in the chat or raise your hand or unmute if you would like to answer this question in addition to the other question. Anybody want to go off first? I see you again, Maddie.
No one's putting their hands up, so I'll do it. We do, because you guys mentioned transportation, Santa Rosa Junior College does have a contract with Sonoma County Transportation. So students pay an additional $18 towards transportation that provides every student with a bus pass. So having transportation just for being a student is a really, really helpful resource that I've been able to use. I don't drive at all. So.
Thank you, Maddie. We'll go to our very own panelist, Charlie.
Yeah, I figured I'd jump in since I wanted to give space to folks who weren't on the panel first, but you know, in terms of like the basic needs resources, you know, I've talked about it somewhat already with like the printing and the spaces to work, but you know, when I was working in the Career Resource Center on campus prior to the pandemic, you know, we have our food pantry system is a little different. We have like had, I guess, because it's, you know, pandemic. Before the pandemic, we had a food market every Tuesday that was basically like a farmer's market, and you could come and get stuff for free. And then each of not all of them, but most of the resource centers had a program called the Rams Food Shelf, where people could come in, get snacks, get something a little more substantial like ramen, get something to drink, something to eat. And, you know, when I was on shift, I used that food pantry like a fair amount just because it was so much less complicated than, you know, trying to run around and grab food and, you know, manage coursework and, you know, and that really kind of got me through some of the longer shifts. And, you know, that has kind of all but disappeared in, you know, during the pandemic. We have a food card system where you can sign up to get like Safeway gift cards, but that's, you know, it's much more limited. It is, you know, like the amount of food you can get with that is so much less than, you know, coming in for a snack or two every day. You know, so like that's something that's kind of, you know, stuck with me. You know, I've been lucky enough that during the pandemic, I haven't really needed anything like that. It was really more of an on-campus logistics thing, but you know, those kinds of resources are so crucial, and they're just kind of not really reaching students in the same way that we used to be able to reach students. And you know, seeing my classmates and peers, you know, struggling to keep above water during this has been just, you know, it's heartbreaking, because I know that there's things that could help, but you know, because of the pandemic, we can't really use them. And so, you know, that has impacted my academic journey, because you know, food is kind of essential to keep your brain going. You know, food is essential to be able to concentrate on homework. It's essential to stay alive. It is, you know, like, whether or not I had, you know, consistent, easy access to food on campus, like directly had an impact on what my grade would be at the end of the semester. So that is kind of like a big one that sticks out to me.
Thank you so much, Charlie. Now I do see hands up. So I did see our very own Vice President of Communications, Jessica Dominguez, with her hand up. So I'll go to Jessica, then I've got on deck Sadia, and then I will go back to De La Shea. Also, additionally, I do see some basic need coordinators on the line, as well as some advisors and faculty members. I would love to hear your stories as well. So feel free to also speak up as well, because this is a space for all of you. So we can hear your stories about how basic needs have impacted you. So Jessica, you have the floor.
Thank you, VP Galanado. Yeah, so something that I really found helpful my first year at College of the Desert, the college I attend in the Coachella Valley, that really impacted my academic journey was that College of the Desert offers something that's called a hall pass system. And what it is every time you have your student ID on you, you're able to access the Sunline bus transportation anywhere in the valley for free. And so when I didn't have a car and I was 15 minutes away from campus, I could just jump on the bus and head to my classes. And we have several locations throughout the Coachella Valley. We have an Indio campus, a Palm Springs campus, and a Palm Desert campus. And so students could just find the line that corresponds to that location and, you know, attend their classes in person. And that is a basic need that sometimes I think is overlooked, just because, you know, cars are so accessible, quote unquote, in people's minds. And so that bus pass really just like, I would remember in the morning getting on the bus, and there'd be a bunch of students waiting. And it was just like the College of the Desert bus, like everyone was heading to their classes. So this was something that was universal, and I know truly impacted a lot of students' academic journey. Thank you.
Thank you, VPC Dominguez. I also do note that there's a lot going on in the chat, so I'll quickly kind of read off what's going on in the chat. So sharing a lot of the good things that are working, that are helpful. Hopefully all of you can share your ideas as much as possible. There is another story that I'm seeing in the chat as well. One school has a huge pantry called The Stands, where students can get meals and snacks, as well as other basic need items, such as clothing, soaps, toothbrushes, and other items. It's helped this person a lot, especially since they're the only member at their household who works. Oh, and now I'm seeing more hands. But I did say I go to Sadia, so I'll go to Sadia, and then hopefully all of you will be sharing more in the chat below. And then after Sadia, we'll go to De La Shea and Maritza.
Yes, thank you. As a student in the fall, some of us got to go back to campus, and I'm actually an athlete. I play volleyball for Compton College, and I thought it was really cool because at the time they were giving us for student athletes, they gave us Uber gift cards, you know, for Uber Eats. And I thought that was awesome because I remember like days before like our game, I wasn't like, I think I was nervous. So my eating wasn't all that, my appetite wasn't there. And then when obviously game day came, I wasn't hungry, you know, so it was kind of nice to know that I had that money was there, like, oh, I can just order myself something to eat, and the college, and it's given to us, we pretty much just book whichever restaurant we want and they even bring it to us. So I thought that was really awesome that the college was doing that for us, being that at the time only athletes were on campus. We were there for practice and for game day. Most recently, I also took advantage. I was able to get into the housing program, not the housing program, but what they do is a housing grant, and I thought that was so like me. I'm a single parent. It's a single income. I run this home, and to know that with when I reached out and I applied for it, and to know that, because I'm a good student, because I'm a student and I have the credits and everything, and I take the units that I have to, I'm giving an incentive for that monthly, that was awesome. Like that has been like such a life changer for me, for my family, for my small family, my daughter and I. So I thought I'll share that with you guys because that has helped me tremendously. It helped me move us in from, at the time I used to live in a single, now I live in a 2-bedroom. I never imagined in my life that these changes were going to happen so quickly, and more because I'm a full-time student. And like I mentioned before, during COVID, I lost my job, but, I reached out there, got the resources. I've been able to keep on striving and pursuing what I want. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sadia. I'll go to the chat really fast as I'll be flipping back and forth between the two. So please don't be afraid to share your stories, whether they be in the chat or out aloud. Someone does say that a local organization is working to get free fare for the region as a part of emergency climate response initiative. Yesterday, it was shared amongst their student body association, and it seems like it's a great way to push for universal access as well. So, oh, I believe that's someone within my own region. Go Santa Rosa. So I will now go to De La Shea. I know De La Shea, are you with us? Hopefully you're able to hear us.
I hope I'm not breaking up. But yes, we had a food pantry that was open every day of, well, not every day, Monday through Thursday. We're going to get fresh foods and meats and cheese and everything every day, every Monday through Thursday. And then when the pandemic, of course, hit, we were cut off from that. But we still have every month, once a month, we collaborated with our local food bank and was giving out food along with $50 cards. And that was really great, but we ran out of funding. So it's still now looking a little shaky, but we're still trying to offer it to all the students. We also just broke ground on a 250 something bed housing that we're looking really forward into having possibly within a year and a half. And we're working, raising money to bring all of the rent down and using a lot of federal grants to help with the housing, with the rent. And also with my SGA, we've been collecting tarps and socks for our homeless community to help out. A lot of people don't realize with all the heavy rains and cold, a lot of the homeless people get, jackets and blankets and whatnot, but people don't think about socks and tarps. And so that was one of the main things that we worked on last semester. We collected quite a bit of tarps and socks and distributed all out for Christmas. And it's something that we're working again this semester because it was such a big need. Before the pandemic, we were 25% homeless students at SRJC. And I can't even imagine the numbers now.
Thank you for sharing, De La Shea, and we heard you this time around. So I will go to Maurizia, and then we will have our very own Vice President, Angelica Campos, speak as well. So Maurizia, you have the floor, and then I'll go to the chat afterwards before we have VP Campos.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Marita, and I am from San Bernardino Valley College. I work in the Office of Student Life. Excuse me. And we are in charge of the food pantry. In fact, today I went to Feeding America to pick up a lot of wonderful items for our students. So through the pandemic, we have been able to maintain our food pantry open as a basic needs or one of our needs in the campus. So we do it twice a week. We offer home bags or snack bags. Students have a choice. Also, we have been able to partner with our cafeteria since the cafeteria is closed. We have been able to partner with the cafeteria to provide us hot meals. So there's a certain amount of hot meals they provide on both days. In addition to that, we have been able to give out gift cards to Target or Stater Brothers. And of course, our students can also use the bus for the bus pass. We have heard so many grateful students, students that are very, very grateful that they're still able to go to the food pantry to pick up items. And even though that, the campus is closed, especially now that it's closed until the end of February. So this is when we do that. When they don't have access to a hot meal, then we partner up with our cafeteria. So we've been able to do that for our students. We've been able to remain open these 2 days for them throughout this entire time during the pandemic.
Thank you so much for sharing, and we appreciate the work that you're doing as in terms of addressing basic needs. I'm going to quickly go to the chat, and then hopefully after VP Campos, we might have some more hands. So in the chat, I do see at Hartnell Community College, basic needs like book vouchers, campus credit for food, pop-up pantries, bus passes, and mental health services have helped someone. I do also see that a few basic needs resources that have helped someone at Long Beach City College during fall of 2020. This person lost their job and was forced to vacate their home. They weren't too sure about how to go about focusing on school and didn't know where they would be sleeping at night. The basic needs programs at Long Beach City College was able to provide a hotel voucher while connecting them to an economic roundtable with the help of Long Beach City College and ERT, where they provided the funds for their down payment and the first month of rent on a studio. The Economic Roundtable at Long Beach City College provides a monthly stipend for rent and monthly workshops on how to apply for food stamps, cash aid scholarships, while also helping the student apply for federal work study on campus, and grateful to work 20 hours a week. The pantry on campus has also provided fresh groceries and food cards when needed. Thank you so much for those of you who are sharing in the chat. I also see one more, but I do have VP Campos on deck. So VP Campos, when you're ready, you've got the floor, Angelica.
I'll make it quick. There are about 3 basic needs resources that I've found helpful in my journey in community college. To kind of give a little background, my start in community college was not easy. I was homeless or at risk. That's the population I did find myself starting in. And what the resources that helped me get to this point where I am almost about to transfer, like our Hearts program. We have a program dedicated specifically for helping homeless students and that at-risk population, especially TAGE youth. They provided us food cards for the cafeteria. They always provided us warm meals, and that really helped. But of course, unfortunately, unlike many other schools, that stopped during the pandemic. But that was really helpful for me and many of my peers, because there'd be times where you'd be hungry on campus, you can't focus in class. That's a story we hear all too often. Other things like we have a book loan program, a book voucher program for students on our campus at City College of San Francisco. That saved me, all of my peers, so much money, because the cost of textbooks can be astronomical. And then third, another aspect of the Hearts program, I just wanted to highlight that, was that transportation card aspect. I think that's super important, especially in places like San Francisco, the Bay Area, and even in places like Santa Rosa, Sonoma, and I know there's other parts in Southern California where there isn't good transportation. How are you going to get to class? How are you going to succeed? How are you going to succeed in class if you can't even get to that classroom to sit there? Because of course, not everyone can just do online classes and stay home. So that aspect is really beneficial, being able to have, transportation card, more than just like a one-time thing. I think, that helps to have like a card occasionally, but having a standing program has really helped a lot of the students on my campus, and of course myself as well.
Thank you, VP Campos. And I do see one more story in the chat before we go to our last question of the night. Thank you all so much for sticking in there and also sharing your stories. If you have any other stories that you would like to share regarding basic needs, feel free to, again, to put it in the chat. Oh, I see my chat going off. Feel free to either put it in the chat or feel free to raise your hand, unmute, as we would, again, love to hear your stories. This is all something that we will take and use as we are trying to address basic needs. And I do note that there are a few individuals who are taking notes on the side. So help us, help you, help all of us. At Chico State, we have free access to bus transportation through the use of our student IDs. We also provide a food pantry on campus, as well as access to a store called Urban Roots on campus that accepts EBTs. Let me double check. There are a few other questions, and hopefully you might get some answers as we go and roll into our final question for the night, everyone. So I do want to note that there are some faculty and administrators on the line. I want to give a quick shout out to Gina Brown from the Chancellor's Office, Pam Lester as well, and Keith Perry, all who are some amazing individuals who are assisting in our efforts to better serve our students on the line, who are all taking notes on the side. So with the last question of the night being, what more can administrators and faculty do to support you in the area of basic needs? This is a question that we hope to hear from everyone from. So if you haven't already had the chance to speak up, I hope to hear from you, or I might just message you on the side and ask if there's anything you want to share. Feel free to either put it in the chat or raise your hand and we'll get you unmuted. So last question for the night, folks. Let's hear it. I do see Maritzia and then Maddie. So Maritzia, did you want to go first?
I'm so sorry, I never took my hand down.
You're all good. We're in a Zoom learning environment, so it happens to all of us. I'll go to Maddie first, and then I'll go back to Maritzia, and then hopefully we'll see some stories in the chat.
Yeah, I'm like watching the chat throughout this conversation too, and I really appreciate this conversation overall. I want to acknowledge one of the things that's come up a couple times is the inaccessibility of a lot of services to undocumented students, and that is also a barrier that could be, it applies to lots of different groups. Lots of different students are actually not able to access a lot of the resources that schools can provide because they are based in grants and funding that require some sort of means testing. And I had this like wild like daydream the other day, and I've been like asking everybody I know, like, how would you feel if, because I didn't spend the first half of this pandemic in school. I was at home providing hospice to my mother, but so I feel like I'm coming in like halfway through with this, like, I am not as exhausted by Zoom as a lot of people are. Like, I've only had half the time on it. So I do like try to acknowledge that. But I had this like weird daydream where I was like, if like in January of 2019 or 2020 or whenever, 2 years ago when this started, if like we were all paid to stay home and schools were like all community colleges were accessible for a couple years for free from the federal government, just investing in students and in education, like a lot of people who did stick through would be like ready to transfer out with 2 years of school under their belt if we had provided for their basic needs. Like if we had provided that everybody will have secure housing, everybody will have secure food, everybody will have a little bit of spending money so that they can take care of toiletries and the things that they need, like a lot of the situation that we see today would still be here, but a lot of it would be relieved. And I think that that is a kind of model that California community colleges in particular can champion, right? Like we have like I think it's the 9th largest economy in the world, even post-pandemic. Like we can invest in public community colleges and in the students that like we require to have those community colleges. And instead of saying like we're only going to pay for basic needs if you can prove that you're a citizen, or we're only going to do it if you can prove that you have the right visas, or we're only going to do it if you can prove that you're making less than so much or prove. If instead we just said like, we want to provide universal access to everyone, like, I think that that is the kind of philosophy that could get us somewhere.
Thank you so much, Maddie. I did see Charlie's hand next, so we're going to go to Charlie, and then I've got Paul, and then De La Shay on deck next. Again, don't be shy. Please feel free to raise your hand, everybody, or share in the chat. I do know that I will be reading things off the chat as they come in. So, Charlie, you've got the floor.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the biggest thing, you know, at least in terms of City College, I don't know how, you know, a lot of these processes work at other schools, obviously, but I think a really big thing that administrators and faculty can and should do is just handing off more of the power to students, because there's a huge power dynamic where administrators and even faculty can basically, you know, sink or swim a student. And, you know, that's just like basically like what Maddie was saying, you know, there are so many, there is just so many programs that aren't, you know, that are gate kept for one reason or another. And I know that some of that is out of the school's control, but there's a lot that is within the school's power to just give stuff to people and just, you know, give the resources, make them available. And, you know, a lot of times what ends up happening is it gets caught in the bureaucratic runaround. I was on a committee up until very recently that was it's called the RCPU, and it's just all of the, you know, student workers of the various resource centers on campus getting together and, you know, talking about what we can do. And we tried to do a whole lot of different things, and pretty much none of it went anywhere because it was just such a bureaucratic slog, because we had to get approval from this person, and then we had to get approval from this person. And then, you know, we had to do X, Y, and Z things, and whoops, the semester is over. And, you know, there's so much turnover at community colleges that pretty much every semester we were starting back at square one, and we'd try to get the same basic programs put in place and the same, you know, tiny projects, and they wouldn't really go anywhere. And that wasn't for lack of trying. You know, there's always some slowing down of a process when you have a bunch of people in a room deciding things, but a lot of that was really the structure of things. And, you know, administration at City College likes to do things that they claim are for us, but really it's more that they're doing things to us without our input, without our consent, without, you know, asking what it is we need. So just really just listening to students more and, you know, taking us at our word when we say what we need. You know, like this is a wonderful panel, and I am so glad to have participated in it. And I'm going to need the administrators and faculty members and classified staff who are here tonight to start putting these things into action and to start, you know, taking the student feedback and really doing something with it, as opposed to just, you know, artificially slowing everything down through the bureaucratic process as an excuse not to listen to us.
Ooh, you heard it there. Oh, I hope we've all got some good notes for our administrators and faculty on the line, because this is coming again directly from our students. And we, again, are here to encourage that they share their stories so that we can all work together in serving our students in the most effective yet best way possible so that they are able to succeed. I don't have anything in the chat so far, but I will go to Paul. So, Paul, when you're ready.
Yes, I believe that had returned from this pandemic. Yeah, my name is Paul. My name is Paul Sario. I'm the president of the San Bernardino Valley College Associate Student Governments here at San Bernardino Valley College. I'm very grateful, very proud of all the efforts that our college has made to help every student here on campus, from our scholarship foundation to providing aid, grant, aid from the the aid package that were passed Congress, that they were made available to all students, including Dreamers, and I believe that as you return to class, that we should put basic needs as priority one. That means I say that means canceling all events, including I believe we should just muster all our resources that we have here available in our budgets, whether it's our student government budgets, whatever budgets that are given to us from the state, donors, the federal government, that we muster all that into having our students back. All of our students, all of them, and that all the programs here that were mentioned, that we connect those students to those programs that they can apply for, that they're eligible for. And if they're not eligible for those programs, that effort should be made to establish our own programs so we can help those who we are going to have difficulty, who can't access, those, federal programs, citizenship or or submitting documents. I just believe that we just need to mobilize.
Oh no, Paul, did we lose you? All right, I believe that can be concluded Paul's comment. I will go to the chat before recognizing the next set of hands. In the chat, I have, oh, sorry, y'all, I gotta scroll back. I do see that someone said, I asked that we mobilize all of our resources on our campuses and put basic needs as all students a number one priority. Then going down here, we see a comment regarding that it is difficult to navigate these issues when at times ideas and even concerns are brought forth to administrators are immediately shut down due to logistical reasons. But I believe strongly that a message to students that their needs don't matter, give students the opportunity to share with open arms and do more than just hear them, work with them. And I do see a lot more, but I do see some hands, so we're going to go back to the hands. So I will go to DeLachey and then flip-flop from there. And then we've got Damaris as well. So DeLachey, you have the floor.
I want to say that coming back to school, I have faced this repeatedly, even now, even though I've been there 2.5 years, yelling and screaming about it. But marketing, I never know about the services. I know about a lot of the services because I am an SGA. But if I wasn't an SGA and I was just a regular student, for which I was for the first 3 months of my school, I didn't know where to find basic needs. I didn't even get in front of the gym. I didn't know these informations. It wasn't given to me as a regular student. It wasn't until I joined SGA that I found out all of these resources, and I seem to find out more and more all the time. I'm like, what? We do what? We do this, we do that. Like even our health services, I was like, we give out this, we do that. Like I didn't even know we had a dental office in our health center for the first 6 months of my college. So I think marketing and getting that information out to all of the students is a really need. So I've really been pushing for our applications to be more, give you more information. If you put your low income, then hey, send this to them, send this to that, you know, and inform the students. I wasn't aware about learning communities. I didn't know about the basic needs that we had. It just wasn't shared with me, and I imagine it wasn't shared with a lot of other students that I've heard throughout my sitting in SGA as officer and in the positions I've held. So I think marketing this information, getting it out to the students, and the next one is wayward signs. Making the signs around the campuses, like this is basic needs, there's a food pantry down here to the right, to the left. There was more signs that pointed me in directions than, you know, I would have found my way around campus to where these basic needs could be found. And for those signs to be in multi-languages, because on my campus, everything was in English, but we have way more than just English speaking people, students, and it's a community college. So also telling us what the community has to offer, as well as SRJC, as well as the community, as well as our college. So I think that's a big thing, is getting the information out.
Thank you so much, DeLaShay. We'll be going to Damaris. So Damaris, you have the floor, and then after Damaris's comment, I will be going back to the chat. Damaris, are you with us at this time? Or if you're unable to mute, let us know and we can help you unmute with our tech team.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you. You have the floor.
My name is Damaris Figueroa, and I'm the ASG president at Oxnard College. And I just wanted to share some things that we do for our students here at ASG and a part of Oxnard College as well, of course. We have a daily food pantry for our students that coordinate with DRC. And we also have a daily snack pantry, which we give 2 free snacks a day for our students that are here in campus and that have their IDs. We also have, they can also get access to Corey's Closet, where they can find clothes for job interviews. We also have baby clothes for our parents. Maybe they can't afford some, but we would provide that for them. We also have like socks, toothbrushes, and like basic necessities. So if our students have their IDs, they're welcome to come and get some resources, as well as donate if they would like. And I know we are having, some students are having a little bit of trouble on housing, and if we can get more help with that, that would be great, or more information for that. As well as Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is a big issue that students have from home, and so they would come here on campus, but our Wi-Fi isn't great. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. I'm also trying to keep up with the chat because all of you are posting your stories and they're quicker than I can read, unfortunately. But first story I do see is regarding how we do need more compassionate individuals on board to understand us on more than just an educational level. We are more than just students on a roster at the end of the semester. We are individuals that desire to succeed and grow both educationally and, most importantly, in the heart. And that's from one of our very own panelists. Retweet. Cannot agree with that enough. I'll be going down to our next story that I see, and that's also from our very own Executive Vice President, Angelica Campos. At times, many of the vital resources for students on my campus have been inaccessible or just not well advertised to our students. This has sometimes led to the college thinking that there isn't much of a need for a particular program because it doesn't appear to be so much of a demand for it. I wonder how much of that is actually a result of poor promotion to both our students and the greater community colleges that we serve. That is a great question that hopefully someone can also speak to in this webinar as well. I also see another comment going back to the topic of promotion, and that being we struggle to get the information out to students. We have advertised it through class syllabi, made signage all over campuses, emails, posting on social media. We know our students need the support, but we also hear that students do not know about us. That is absolutely true. Are there any other hands at this time? I don't see any other hands, but again, feel free to, just when I was about to go back to the chat, I will actually go and recognize D'Angelo.
Hey everyone, hey VPR agent, thanks for coming to one of our ASADC meetings at the end of the year there, so it's good seeing you. I'm an idealist. I'm gonna go pretty hard in on this, so I'm sorry. We can talk about empathy, sympathy, but as long as community college isn't free, as long as we don't provide all these free resources, as long as there's not affordable housing, especially in an area like Irvine Valley College's range, where the rent peaks about $2,200 to $2,300 for one bedroom. As long as we still pay for parking, as long as we don't have free healthcare, as long as we don't provide free Wi-Fi or other things, we provide like laptops and stuff. But the thing about all these is that when we don't provide all these, they affect communities that are already impacted the most by them. Marginalized communities will never be able to catch up if these things aren't just almost outrightly given. I do not think anyone should be paying for college. And that's as I come to college on my GI Bill. Free healthcare. I got free healthcare through the military, and I was able to go to therapy for the first time in my life, and that changed my life. And then I also was able to take advantage of the veteran services at Irvine Valley College. So in my mind, as we talk about all these things, what administrators and faculty and presidents and all of us, what we can do is continually advocate for all these things as if they're a entitlement to what we all kind of represent, not only from the sake of the disparities and success, but also the justice that needs to be done for students, because it will go a long way. Just seeing it in my own life, just seeing the potential, just having the path, at least something to step off of. I kind of see it as like in the worst way, it's a great disservice not to be educating and not to be empowering each individual to be able to take these steps towards community college. We could go look at a job interview board and be like, hey, did you know, like if this particular man takes applies for this job, 60% of the requirements is all he's going to meet on average. But someone in a marginalized community, they won't do any of the thing if they don't fit every single box. They won't even apply for the same job. So it goes down all the way to the syllabus when we talk about things like that. If your syllabus says you do not accept late work, a person in a marginalized community is less likely to ask for an extension. These are not things I'm making up. These are not things that I feel like have not benefited from. These are not things that were encouraged to me being a first generation college student. So as we talk about all these basic needs and everything, there should be a complete and lateral shift towards providing these on every single campus for every single student to not only benefit everybody, because even when you increase these basic needs in an attempt to target marginalized communities, the majority communities still benefit from that. So as we continue on with this education, there was a press release recently, I believe it was for every $1 that, this from the community colleges, every $1 that was a student invest into their education, they get a $5 increase in their earnings. There's like another additional $2 in tax revenue that goes to the state. If I'm remembering it right, if not, it was a very recent press release. So if there's not a complete and lateral shift, if there's not demand, if there's not a continuing ongoing force of saying like, these are not just basic needs for people who just need them, but for everyone that could potentially ever use them, and for the communities that are coming up and trying to take advantage of the resources like Promise Program. We got EOPS, and I'm sitting here like everyone deserves this. We have OER, we have these things where it's like, oh, hey, like, you know, these books are free. And then except for the access code stuff, except for the STEM stuff, you know, like it's kind of a double-edged sword almost, in the sense of yeah, I see where you're helping, but I also don't feel like I have to continuously advocate for this if it isn't just my school doing it. They don't 100% support this. It needs to be brought forth in front of the academic senates and the classified senates and every single, the ASGs. We love being able to provide, like I'll say it from my own point. I love being able to be like, hey, like you can get this $40 gift card that Albert sends every single month if you have food insecurity. Almost no questions asked at our place, at ours, and at ours called Valley. But like, I sit here like I was one of those kids who had to go across the street and not ask, but be provided a free meal during the summer when I was a kid. Like it was very difficult growing up in that sense. And I can't imagine reading the chat and seeing someone who's homeless here with their kids. And like, it hurts to see things like that because I don't feel like anyone should be in that spot. If I can put $2,000 back in your pocket per semester because you don't have to pay for classes and books, I would love to do that. And so like when I look at the academic side and the faculty and I look at the presidents and I look at the SSCCC to the state, to the country, I'm like, I love this GI Bill. I think I earned it, but at the same rates, I kind of feel like everyone kind of deserves it because the entitlement of what we all deserve hasn't been there yet. A lot of people don't feel entitled, and I would die to this day to, like, as a member of the armed forces, like, who would defend the Constitution. Like, if you don't feel as entitled to your rights, then like what I did when I was serving doesn't mean as much to me, because those are the people I want to defend. And it comes down to this level, and I feel like I'm so privileged to be in this position to tell people things like this, because when you could have a good leader, when you can have a good teacher, when you can have someone who said, I saw you struggling, or I seen this, that makes you feel so special. But now I'm kind of thinking like, this should all just be here for us. This should be things we should be striving for. This is things other countries have done, and we should be following suit until there's that lateral shift to 100% compliance in that mindset of like, this is free education. This is this, you get your books for free, you get this, you're able to at least step off on the same planes as someone else that came before you. Like, that's justice, that's equity, that's endorsing diversity. Like, it's very much right now free for all. And like, I think we can focus on trying to make that lateral shift to where we're all on the same page, with the more generalized view of like, these are demands versus just asking for needs. And I'm a person, I don't believe you can become self-actualized if you can't get through your basic needs. You cannot focus on the things that make you your strongest and most potent self, the highest potential of who you could be. It's impossible if you can't afford food. You can't afford not to take 30 hours to 40 hours and work and take a 12-hour class load, add on the homework and all that. So you're looking at like 40 hours of work at school and then almost 40 hours of schoolwork. Like, it's super hard, and not everyone can afford to stay at home. So I just say it like that because I just love what has been provided for me. I love Irvine Valley College for being my step off and seeing the potential that is possible. But like, there's so much work to still be doing. And I feel like there's been so much progress, but now at this point, it's progress plus justice, and that will equal what we really want. So sorry, I know I talked a lot, and thanks for hearing me out.
Thank you so much, D'Angelo. I believe you're getting a lot of praise and love in the chat and on the screen as well. If you don't already see it, I can tell you there's a lot of love going around. So I do believe I see two more stories. I'll get to that. And one is that instructors can show support by being understanding of the varying situation amongst our students and being sure to let their students know that accommodations can be made when needed. Also being very mindful when putting together a list of supplies that is necessary to complete a source, as it can be very intimidating and discouraging for students to see a long list of expensive supplies that may not be totally needed, or at least have cheaper and more accessible alternatives. I don't believe I see any other stories in the chat as well, but if you do have stories, feel free to share them in the chat. But I will go to Director Turvalon from Region 3, and then I'll pass the floor back over to President Chavez. So Director Turvalon, you have the floor.
I just wanted to say thank you to D'Angelo. It was wow, it was very moving to hear you speak. I had the pleasure of speaking with you once before. I believe that was during our professional development. And I just wanted to just tell you that we're here for you. We're just want to be here to support you, and I hope to and look forward to hearing from you at more of our events upcoming.
Thank you, Director Turvalon. And everybody who shared. These stories are incredibly impactful, and they do help in the work that the SSCCC is going to be doing in regards to the topic of basic needs. But this is just the start of the conversation, but it doesn't mean it's over. With that being said, I'm going to actually pass the floor back over to President Chavez, and thank you so much for being here for our first of the Student Series Forum. And with that being said, President Chavez, thank you so much. I'll pass it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Chen. First of all, I want to thank Jen for doing an amazing job at moderating the forum. So if we can give her some love by giving her a round of virtual applause for the amazing work that she did. But most importantly, give a round of applause for all the students who were brave enough to share your story. Everyone here is so resilient in sharing your story with basic needs. And oftentimes we don't appreciate enough the power of the story and the power of sharing our experience, which is critical in the work that we're doing within the SSCCC. We can't advocate on your behalf if you don't share with us your story. So thank you very much for all of that. A way for you to get involved. We have different opportunities for our students to get involved. As you can see right here on the screen, regional officer elections, we have a few vacancies within our region. So if one of these positions speak to you, definitely look to our website for more information on these job descriptions. Participatory governance, this is where you can serve on the statewide level on various topics, and we do provide compensation for the time that you give at these statewide committees. Resolutions are coming up. We have our General Assembly in April, and we actually postponed the submission date for our resolution. If you have any questions, I will actually invite our resolutions chair to leave his email in the chat if you have any questions about our resolutions. And then lastly, join our caucuses. We have many topics and many populations for our caucuses. We have our Spectrum Caucus. If you're a student trustee, we have a caucus for that. We have a Black Caucus, and that is just a way for you to get involved in diversity and share a space in community. Next slide, please. Just like Jen said, this is just the beginning of the conversation, and this Basic Needs Forum is just one out of the 10 forums that we will have. This is a series, so coming up is non-traditional students on February 8th, student athletes February 2nd, and our international students in March. We also have March coming up in March 15th, and our General Assembly coming up on April 1st to the 3rd. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, or you can also reach out to me via email that is on the screen. Next slide. Lastly, connect with us, share your experience about this forum in our social medias. We have our Instagram, our Twitter, also Facebook. Our website is actually www.ssccc.org for more information on how you can get involved or more information about our meetings. So this concludes our Basic Needs Forum. I want to thank all of you for attending, and thank you so much for sharing your stories. And hopefully we see you at the Non-Traditional Student Forum on February 8th. Thank you so much for joining today.